Hi, everybody. This is Jeff and Elizabeth Beaudre, the owners of Tipple's Brews and Wines. Thank you all for coming to our virtual tasting tonight. Tonight, we are going to be tasting the Bodega La Cartuja Priorat Red Blend from Priorat, Spain, the 2017 vintage. And I actually chose this wine because it's kind of it's an excellent example of Priorat. And Priorat is an area of Spain that I think is overlooked often. It's not as, the weird thing is, Priorat is a combination of one of the most prestigious areas of Spain and one of the lesser known areas of Spain. So they're like, I guess it's a bit like, yeah, you gotta be in the know to know Priorat. So now you guys are all in the know. So congratulations to you all for being. You've just upgraded a level in wine drinking. So I decree it to be so. So this particular Priorat, the La Cartuja, is actually 90+ points year on year. It's a very consistently well-made wine. Priorat, what it's known for in Spain is red blends, whereas a lot of Spain, you go to Rioja, which is the most famous area in Spain, is known for Tempranillo. A lot of other areas in Spain are Garnacha, but Priorat is going to be red blends. And the red blend, what they blend in is kind of fun, because what they do is they tend to blend in French varietals of wines into Garnacha. So they do a base of Garnacha, and then they blend in French varietals. It's either going to be Syrah, Carignan, Cabernet Sauvignon, or Merlot, that type of thing. So anyway,
Tell me when you're ready for me to change out the
go ahead and put us on.
Okay.
I know they can't wait to see me. Hey. So like I was saying, Carignan, so Priorat, red blend region of Spain, known for two things. First, the blending. Second thing they're known for is a lot of minerality to their wines. So whereas if you get to like an old vine Garnacha made in other regions, it's going to be a lot about the grape and the barrels. You're going to get these big vanilla flavors, but you're going to get a lot more minerality out of what we're tasting tonight. So this is kind of a French throwback again, because you're going to taste more, as they call it, terroir. So a bit more of the earth is going to be expressed through their grapes.
Should we pour so we can taste what you're talking about?
Yep. All right. So let's go ahead and pour some wine.
I'm just imagining it.
Right. We'll go through my normal shtick, which is a light chill on your red wines is optimal, because the state of Florida is really, really hot. So even if it's room temperature, you're drinking it around 74, 75 degrees. But European cellar temperatures for reds more like 65 degrees. So my recommendation for a red is to always throw it in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes before you open it, and it will chill it down to just about the perfect temperature. Give it a little swirl, give it a sniff. Oh, you can tell right off the bat that is not.
Much more show
It's not about vanilla jumping out of there at all. So this particular blend for this guy is 70% Garnacha and 30% Mazuelo. Now, Mazuelo is just a Spanish word for Carignan. They also call it Carignan, but anyway, they call it Mazuelo here in this case for a very specific reason. It's called wine mystery. Why would they possibly want you to just know? Why would they do it? No, let's call it Mazuelo. So anyway, they're just going by the local dialect in there. I think it's more of a connection throwback to the region.
I'm definitely getting them in now.
Spicy, tight, it's wound up. It's kind of a bit of an aggressive wine on the tannin side. It's grown in volcanic slate. Actually, I'm going to show some of the map if we could. Jump over there real quick. So it's grown on volcanic slate. So this is.
Hold
Oh, is it not being shown yet?
on. No. I have to share it.
So dry.
Why is it not sharing? There we go.
You do. You should add some sugar for it to taste good. Tiny dinosaur.
There we go.
All right. So this map is the overall wine growing region map of Spain. Beautifully produced from Wine Folly, by the way, winefolly.com. They do amazing work. So Priorat is in the upper right-hand red corner. There you go. Nice. I also have the Wine Folly book. I like it. So it's in the upper right-hand corner of Spain. So it's for them, northeastern. If you go to the next one, please. There we go. So then it just zooms in for you to show you where that is.
Oh, good.
And then go to the next slide for me. And this gives you an example of the terroir. It's gorgeous. It's it's mountainous, and where it's not mountainous, it's hilly, and it's covered with all this volcanic shale and slate that's in there. And it's a region that really speaks to a lot of what's going on in France. France. This is not my first bottle of wine. in France, and I think that's where they really were. In addition, they were settled at one point in time by French monks who actually controlled the area. So, will you go to the next slide? The name La Cartuja. I'm going to have a major problem. That's true. So the name La Cartuja comes from the Carthusian monks that actually had dominion over that area during the medieval times. And so it used to be called a Cartuja, was the region controlled by the Carthusian monks. So that's where the name comes from as well. And that's a little bit about, a good look at the area and a bit about why you're going to be tasting what you're tasting.
What's all this down here?
At the very bottom is the percentages of what they're growing in that area. So like I say, the top one it's 40% Garnacha. Then Cariñena, which is the same thing as what we're drinking. It's Carignan. So that's what we're drinking tonight, is the top two varietals produced there. And then they have about 10% Cab, 10% Syrah, and then 6.5% Merlot. So you can actually find, you can find a lot of very different tasting red blends from that area. Everyone's doing their own thing. I've even seen some Cabernet dominant blends. So Priorat's a really fun area to explore. And I think, for a nice dry gripping wine, and what brought it to my attention first, I saw a recommendation from wine enthusiasts probably, 4 or 5 years ago now, where they were talking about different regions of the world and how to get wine drinkers to explore in them and to connect it to something they probably tasted. And what they connect with these guys is, if you like Syrahs, you're probably going to like Priorat. And I think I get a lot of that in here.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love Syrahs, so that.
Right, I could totally go there. It's got the spiciness, it's got the tightness and the tannins.
Yes, very much so.
The one difference is it's not smoky like you would get from a Southern Rhone, which we had in that Les Mistral a couple of weeks ago that had that smoky quality in the Syrah, but it's got all the other aspects to it. Nice fresh raspberry. What are you guys thinking of the fruit? It's kind of bright red fruits.
Yeah. Yeah, I was saying initially I was like, oh, it's like cherry. I thought it was like really earthy, but like honestly, as it's been sitting here, it's like really opened up a lot too. And it's not like, because my first reaction was like, that is earthy. It's kind of almost like musty in a way, and I was like, whoa, this is a lot. But like as it's been sitting here, like the fruits have come out way more in even the last like 5-10 minutes.
I agree, because I definitely felt that it was more earthy at the beginning. I felt like I tasted the terroir more, and now I feel like I'm tasting the fruits more.
Yeah.
But it has a really nice finish still, where it's almost like as if you. This is the way it's almost like you spilled your wine on some granite and licked it.
Yeah.
Do I need to drink more wine to get these flavor changes because it still tastes like granite from the beginning and now to me. So
Well, it,
I was saying
So-
cut it open, but for 15 minutes.
Mhm. I feel like, Brian, as I have drunk more wine, like you said, that your palate does kind of evolve to taste more things, because I used to just tell Jeff it tastes red. Literally, it tastes red or it tastes white. That's it. It tastes like wine. But I think that as you taste more, even if you're not a super taster, he's a super taster, I'm not. But I do taste the differences now that I absolutely did not when I first started drinking wines. So yes, to your question.
I will drink more. Thank you.
There you go. Yes, that is the lesson. Drink more wine.
it's
We were
it's
just looking
not-
for permission.
Exactly.
It's not drinking too much, it's training your palate.
That is absolutely.
Educational.
Yes. I mean, it is true though. I mean, because, I mean, I did say that to him. He would say, "Don't you taste the?" I'm like, "No, it tastes red. That's what it tastes like."
It's good, yeah, but it just I don't taste the subtle changes like when the bottle's open or whatever. You know, it
If
all
you
tastes the same.
decant it though, they taste total. Like I sit mine in a decanter for 45
Nice.
minutes before drinking it, and then I put it back into the bottle and then aerate it, and you can taste
Oh,
the
sure. Because
difference. Yeah, 'cause
there-
and
Absolutely.
You're totally right, Renee. And the thing is with these, which is what I like about Priorats and what I like about this wine particularly, there's a lot to this wine. We're talking about a wine that's $20 before being on sale. So it's a $20 bottle with all of this character,
Right.
which comes from that area. I think it's an outstanding buy from a
Mhm.
really intriguing region.
So one of the things that I was saying earlier in the store, actually, Spanish wines, at least what I've experienced with them, tend to be like that. You get a more sophisticated wine for a less expensive price with Spanish wines.
Mhm.
So, but Brian, also when we have our next tasting in the store and you are tasting through 6, 8 different wines, you tend to then be able to pick that out too, because you're comparing it to,
Yeah.
a flight of wines. Mhm.
So, and actually as it opens up, I'm getting a little more of what is a common secondary quality from there, which is floral. There's almost a,
Yeah, that's it.
I wouldn't call it a rose, but it is definitely a floral note.
Yeah, I totally see that. And as soon as you said rose, I was like, oh yeah, I can kind of see that, like a rose water or something. Like I don't know, something along those lines.
Yeah, it's right around there. It's like,
Yeah.
it makes me want to say another flower, which I would just be guessing at that point, because I wouldn't quite call it rose. Rose is super common in Italian styles, but there's definitely a very floral component that reminds me of roses. Maybe maybe lilac or something.
But
Yeah, I can totally go rose.
bouquet, I don't taste it, but I do get it from the bouquet now that it's been
If you
open.
think about it,
Now it's been open.
yeah, if you think about it as you sip on it, because you'll get done with the fruits, and when you get there, there is this very kind of elevated, ready. It's going to be like, it's funny when I don't know if you guys do this, but sometimes I'll think when I'm trying to pick out the flavors and decide what my brain is going to assign it to, there are times when it will simply assign a color, where I'm like, oh, that's like a reddish, pinkish taste,
Yeah.
even though that makes no sense. But that's where my brain starts, and then I begin to work my way through the flavors until it finds something.
See, so when I said red, that worked.
You are you are correct.
Right?
That's right. And the tannins on this, let's talk about the tannin structure on this guy. So it has ample tannins. They dry out your palate,
Mhm.
which makes it great for food pairings that are robust. So we're talking, grilled and roasted meats, stews, roasted vegetables would be amazing with it. They're sharp to me. They're kind of like needle sharp tannins. They're very fine, but aggressive. Or they kind of, they coat the whole tongue, and and it seems a little Italian in styling, because Italian tannins can be really aggressive like that too. Oh, I see Winston
Here
behind.
comes our-
So but that's where I would go with this. And I can see those pairings where if you had this with, it could totally be a steak. It could be a steak wine, but this could be a burger wine too, because it's got a little something for everybody. It could be, but you could do a portobello burger with this too.
Oh yeah.
With cheese.
Yeah, but some mushrooms would be.
Now, the one thing that they do mention with these is Priorat wines, as with many Spanish wines, tend to be a little higher alcohol on average than most in the world. And
You know what this one is?
15%.
one is over 14, if I remember.
15.
15, yeah, there you go. That's high. So they recommend when you have a really high alcohol wine, you don't pair it with spicy food because that alcohol will actually intensify the spices and can overwhelm your palate. So roast, yes, but spicy, they don't recommend. I can see that too. If you have those tannins, kind of really. The great thing about tannins is if you're eating like a fatty piece of steak, they cleanse your palate so that you're tasting in a very aggressively raw form.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have spicy foods and nothing is ever dulling that, it can become more and more and more intense.
Yeah.
Well, especially if you're sensitive to spices.
Yeah, well, like me.
I mean, I think I'm going to drink this with all my spices just to intensify them.
Elizabeth, you've seen Brian's spice collection. You can come over and intensify it all day long.
I have, yeah. Whenever I run out of anything, I'm going to go to your house instead of the grocery store. I'm just going to start,
On over.
Taking our duplicates
Yes,
or triplicates, as the case may be.
quadruplicates. Yeah.
Right. So, thoughts? What do you enjoying the wine this week? You like the selection?
I like it a lot.
I like
Yeah.
that it's dry, which is not my favorite. Like the tannins aren't always my favorite, but they're subtle. So sometimes when a wine is too bold and too dry, I'm like, I can't. Like it's too much and too dry. But this is like drier than I would typically drink, but it's also subtle, so I really like it.
It's definitely a food wine.
Yeah, for sure.
All my wine.
Yeah, it would be outstanding. I actually had some pate at the store about a week ago. Somebody had left some charcuterie. That would be amazing with this.
Mhm.
It was a duck and pork pate, wild, just to get everybody starving.
That is really nice.
It was amazing. They carry it at Whole Foods, by the way.
There you go. Any other comments about it?
You're unmuted.
I had steak with it tonight, and that was fantastic.
Yeah, good call.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's definitely an instant hit with that.
Yeah.
And it's lighter. It's got a little acidity to it, where it could go with, you could even go with some lighter things. You can go with like, I could say spare ribs. You could go with I think you could do Boston butt with this, which is cool. Yeah.
That sounds good.
I feel like it's a good summer wine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big wine, but it isn't so deep and rich.
Right, overpowering.
Yeah.
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 Right.
Yeah. It's not oppressive, right? It's not like one of those like California cabs that are just like
It's okay, you don't need to show.
Yes,
kicking down the door.
I normally go for.
Yeah, that's true.
exactly.
That's right.
Darker.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. We like the heavy Grenache wines wherever they happen to be.
Mhm.
Côte d'Aron's, Australia, wherever. But this was particularly
this
good.
one's nice.
Priorat's definitely a good area of Spain, different than the rest.
Right. Yeah, you make a good point because those Grenache wines do have more of from the areas you're talking about, have more of a floral component, a little more acidity. But when you get to old vine Grenache or Grenache, as they would call it, in Spain, you're right, because you get this very deep, intense, inky vanilla thing, which is a very different experience from what we have here today.
Mhm.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah, the prices go ahead.
Oh yeah, I'd say I'm enjoying like the earthiness and like that kind of granite type taste, but the smells, I do get the fruit smell, so that's interesting to me.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying learning. So
Mhm.
good.
This smells so rich.
Yeah, it's actually fascinating to me how sometimes the bouquet has, and I don't find this to be with this one, but sometimes the bouquet has absolutely nothing to do with the taste of it, which is crazy to me because as a teacher, one of the experiments we used to do with science in 5th grade was we would have kids hold their nose and stick a like a very tart, some kind of hard candy that was tart in their mouth, and you can't really taste it until you let your nose go, and all of a sudden the flavor kind of floods your mouth. So it's so bizarre to me when bouquet does not match what it tastes because it's I feel like it should, but it doesn't always.
Right. Oh, no. And that's actually a classic behavior in old world wines.
That's what you mentioned a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had a similar wine.
Right, right. So that's a, new world wines, not always, but generally. So if you were going for your sommelier level 1, for example, they're not going to try to trick you. They give you wines that behave like they should, right? So new world wines, so that would be the United States, South America, Australia, South Africa. New world wines tend to smell like they will taste. Old world wines tend to smell one way and taste a different way. So especially in France, you'll get wines that will taste like a big fruit jumps out of the glass, and then you drink it and it's really dry
So
and
they
floral.
smell like fruit.
Right.
You said taste.
Oh yeah, smell.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Okay.
So but the dichotomy can go either way too.
Okay.
Like there are times there are French wines that will smell like horse barn, and maybe a little bit like you smashed a raspberry on a horse's rump or something. And they do. And they'll tell you, it's so good. I love my horse. You know, but and then you'll taste it, and it can be all fruity and just easy going. So, oh, Renee, here's your thought. I'm thinking for you because you had your wine open so early. Now that mine's been open a little bit, one of the characteristics they described was black licorice beginning to come out, which I wasn't getting in the beginning, but I really think I'm starting to get it now.
Get it now.
Did you must have had it almost from the
Yeah.
start.
in the kitchen.
Because mine's been open since 6:30, so like an hour and a half.
Oh, right.
Yeah, what time
I
did
like wine that evolves.
7:50. What is
And the way some people ask me, it's like, oh, well, do you want to decant it all the time? A lot of times, and there is no right and wrong answer with decanting. There just is
the glass was?
wherever you want to go. But what I tend to do is open it, and I like to experience it early, and then drink it slowly and let it evolve because it's just fun to see where it goes.
That's I always pour it right out of the bottle before decanting it and then come back to it.
Nice. See, yeah, I like that. To me, that's just a lot.
It transforms the wine completely from when you first uncork it to what it tastes like now that it's been out.
Yeah.
Well, some people ask me sometimes, well, where do you have to go in order to get a quality wine that you can age? Now, this one is made to be consumed within 5 years, but you could stretch it. You could stretch this a little longer, 8 years or something like that. Because it's got acidity and higher alcohol content, which will allow it to evolve a little more slowly. So here you have a $20 bottle of wine that can be aged, where normally I would say almost all the time you have to get to a $50 bottle before you can do it.
Do you have more of this in store?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm guessing you'll get some more too.
So you want to jump over to the last slide? Sure. We'll talk about what we're going to drink next week. Then we'll sign up. There we go. So sticking with reds, one more week, Ryan.
One more, yeah.
One more, then I'll do a dry one. But next week
I don't mind drinking all kinds of wine, but you know.
So next week we're going to be drinking a Southern Rhone in France red blend. This guy is absolutely delicious, and it's kind of the French version of what we're doing tonight, where we have this really easy to get into Priorat that speaks really well of the region without making you spend an arm and a leg. That's exactly what we're doing with the Guigal. The Guigal Côte de Rhône Rouge, consistent 90+ point, and it is, I just had this a week ago, and I hadn't had it in 2 years. And I forgot how good that wine was. I said, okay, this is going to be our wine of the week next week. So I don't know, maybe this is the theme on what I'm eating lately, but once again, grilled meats, roasted, braised, stewed. Also pairs with a wide variety of soft and hard cheeses, preferably some at the same time.
So were you like leading into 3 dots, or did you accidentally put an extra period? Because I'm wondering if you're like, they're also perfect paired with wide variety of soft and hard cheese. And
Yes, we're not going to say I forgot to get rid of a period.
oh, okay.
Clearly, I was.
I wasn't sure what was going on there. I saw it. It's like, did you mean to put something else, or was it just like open-ended, or?
I need to run everything through my editor.
Yeah. That was interesting, though.
Oh, it's absolutely delicious, and yeah, you're going to be eating that with filet mignon this week. You're going to be drinking that while eating filet mignon. It was amazing. I paired it with filet. It was so good. I'm still thinking. So
You just hear Jeff say we're coming over for steak next week.
yeah, that's right. Maybe a little portobello mushroom.
I'll bring the spices.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right. We'll jump back. Well, thank you all for coming. Anyone have any last thoughts or comments before we toast and say goodnight?
I want to know how you pick the wines you pick. Like, why this wine this week?
That's a good question.
It is.
That's a very good question.
It's been a combination of because I now have this venue to talk about some of my favorite wines. It's been one of those things where I'm just kind of blending. It's a combination. Sometimes it's a new discovery, which was like the South African red blend that we did. That was just a new discovery that blew my mind, and it was delicious. And then other times I've been thinking, oh, well, we should revisit some of my old favorites that I've talked about, but I've never had this venue to talk about them. And I thought, it's something I really wanted to share. So it's a combination of both of those things.
And I do know from speaking earlier to you, he's trying to cycle in not just red every week, because if it were me, I just want to drink red every week. But we're trying to cycle in other things as well. That's why we're doing another red next week, but then the following week a dry white.
Right.
And then like last week we did the sweet Riesling, and we did a rosé one week.
Mm-hmm.
I think we did a sparkling one week as well, didn't
Not
we?
yet. That's coming up.
Yeah. So trying to give a variety to so that when we're doing these tastings, we're not just doing the same. And not that I have discovered red is not the same. It's not just red, like all reds are not the same, but I know that you're trying to mix in other types of wines as well, not just types of reds. So.
Right. Yeah, exactly. In about 3 or 4 weeks, I'm thinking Mad Dog 2020. We're going to really shake it up. We'll do a little Manischewitz when it's the proper holiday.
There you go.
Italian Swiss colony.
Yeah.
It's imported.
There you go. I like it. Oh, thank you guys so much for coming tonight and participating. It's always so much fun.
So you're welcome to stay after for the after party, but we're gonna do our cheers,
We'll do
and
a
I'll
cheers.
stop recording.
And then we can say whatever you want.
Thank you everyone for coming.
All right, cheers, everybody.